Can you believe it? I almost lost everything. All because I planted vegetables. On my own land. And no. This isn't some joke. Picture this. You're standing in your backyard. The sun's shining. The same garden your wife once planted still thriving. And in a split second, 6 police cars, sirens blaring, surround your home like you're America's most wanted fugitive. Me. I'm Ethan Carter. Not a criminal. Just a farm. Trying to keep the last promise I made to my late wife. To turn this land into the biggest organic farm in Redwood Ridge. To nourish the community. To keep her memory alive. But they didn't care. Ones behind the HOA. The so-called organization for the community. But secretly, they're grabbing every inch of land to turn it into a playground for the rich. And leading them. Victoria Hale. President O. The Redwood Ridge HOA. Hyped up as the hero of neighborhood standards. But the truth. Behind that fake smile. A whole network of intimidation. Manipulation. And fraud. That day. They brought the cops. Framed me as the dangerous farmer threatening the community. They even pointed guns at my son, Mason, a young firefighter, who just came home to visit his father. What they didn't expect. I had proof. I had allies. And I had the truth. Think this is just another land dispute. Not even close. Behind the green garden beds, filthy schemes were growing. Behind Victoria's smile. An entire shadow empire ready to crush anyone who dared stand in their way. And that day, I fought back. Not just to save my land, but to expose the truth to the world. Don't look away from this video. Because what you're about to hear will show you. In America, you can lose everything just for growing vegetables. But if you've got the guts, you can bring an entire HOA empire crashing down. Redwood Ridge. At first glance, this place looks like every perfect picture in those glossy real estate magazines. Winding roads weaving through towering redwood trees. Red tile rooftops. Lawns trimmed with military precision. And in the distance, the Sierra Nevada, Missouri. Untamed, standing tall like eternal stone walls guarding the town. To outsiders, Redwood Ridge is a model community. Quiet. Clean. And as the realtors love to say, absolutely secure. But to me, Ethan Carter, Redwood Ridge is memories. Its roots. It's the soil soaked with the sweat, tears, and even blood of my family for nearly a century. My great-grandfather, Walter Carter, was the first to set foot here back in 1931. Back then, Redwood Ridge didn't have the fancy name. It was just wild land. Dense forests. Wild animals howling through the nights. People whispered stories of bears. Wolves. Blizzards that could wipe entire towns overnight. But my great-grandfather wasn't afraid. He came here with nothing but his bare hands. A shovel. A few seeds. And an unshakable belief that nature isn't something to conquer. It's something to nurture. To live with. He planted the first garden on rocky, unforgiving soil. He cleared the land inch by inch. Built the first wooden cabin on the hillside. The same cabin I live in today. Those early days weren't easy. Bitter winds cut through your skin. Winters blanketed the fields in ice. But season by season, under his care, the land came back to life. Slowly, Carter Farm was born. People said the tomatoes from our fields were the ripest in town. Zucchini's the size of your arm. And the herbs, especially the basil, so green and fragrant, you could smell them just walking by. My grandmother used to say, back then, everyone laughed at Walter Carter. Called him a fool. Some dreamer who left the city thinking he could get rich off vegetables. But one by one, they came. First neighbors buying produce. Then small shops in town. Eventually, hospitals. Schools. All ordering fresh Organic food grown by my family. From barren land. We built something far more valuable than just property. We built trust. Respect. A symbol of resilience and honesty. My father inherited the farm. Then it was my turn. And through 3 generations, we've held on to my great-grandfather's words. Land isn't just property. Land is roots. And roots must be protected. I've lived here my whole life. Grew up between the rows of vegetables, beneath the towering redwoods, listening to wolves howl from the distant mountains. Emily and I, we built our life here. Planted every tree, every garden path together. She passed away 3 years ago. A cruel disease took her from me. But her words still echo in my heart every day. Ethan, protect this place. Protect this land like you protect the heart of this family. I kept that promise. Planted more gardens. Expanded the farm. Taught kids in town how to grow their own food. And I thought life would stay that simple. Until Victoria Hale showed up. She didn't care about tradition. Or the sweat and sacrifice of the people here. To her, Redwood Ridge was just a gold mine. A place to manipulate, exploit, and turn this whole community into her private playground for the wealthy. And right at the top of her target list, the Carter family's legacy. I knew to keep my promise. To my great-grandfather. To Emily. I would have to fight. And that fight started right here. On my land. In these gardens. Buried beneath the false image of a model community. I still remember that morning. Clear as day. The sunlight filtered through the towering redwoods of Redwood Ridge, casting golden rays across the fresh green rows of my garden. The birds chirping. The breeze rustling through the pine needles. Everything felt unusually peaceful. I was watering the basil by the cabin. Emily's favorite. The same plant she always I'd keep it green like you keep the memories in your heart. That's when my phone buzzed. An unknown number from San Francisco lit up the screen. At my age, random phone calls rarely bring good news. But I answered anyway. And from that moment, my life changed direction. A woman's voice came through. Clear. Professional. The confident tone of someone used to making big deals. Mr. Ethan Carter. This is Olivia Monroe. I'm the head of procurement for Organic Valley, the largest organic food retailer on the West Coast. I'd like to discuss a long-term partnership with you. I froze. Oregon. Icy Valley. Every farmer in this region knows that name. They supply the cleanest, strictest certified organic produce. Getting into their supplier network. Most big farms line up for months just for inspections. And now, they were calling me. I hesitated, making sure this wasn't a mistake. Are you sure you've got the right person? My farm's just a small family operation. Olivia chuckled, voice full of quiet confidence. You're being modest, Mr. Carter. Our quality assessment team has been testing Carter Farm produce for over 3 months now. Your herbs, tomatoes, leafy greens. The quality is well above average. I stood there in shock. Turns out, local organic shops I've been selling to. They'd been forwarding my products to Organic Valley's secret inspection program. And the results? They wanted an official partnership. I didn't have to ask. I already knew. This wasn't just any deal. With Organic Valley, if they choose you, it means long-term contracts, stable pricing, large volume orders, a ticket to change your life for any farmer. Olivia continue. Her words clear but filled with genuine respect. We're looking for suppliers with a true commitment to sustainable agriculture. We know your story. We know how you and your wife spent your lives protecting the soil. No chemicals. No shortcuts. No chasing quick profits. I clenched my fist, thinking of Emily. How she used to fertilize each row in the pouring rain. How she stayed up late researching organic farming. Determined to grow clean crops. Even when it meant lower yields. Less money. But now, that perseverance was paying off. Olivia didn't waste time. We're offering a 5-year contract. Guaranteed perch. ASE of all qualifying produce from Carter Farm. Pricing that allows you to expand. Upgrade equipment. Hire extra help if needed. I stood there. Speechless. 5 years of stability. The chance to grow this farm. To finally make the dream Emily and I built together a reality. I looked at the basil by the porch. The green leaves swaying in the morning sun. Almost smiling back at me. And I thought. Emily. You see this. Don't you? The promise I made you. It's finally happening. But life's never that simple. The joy didn't last long. The storm hit fast. Because someone else heard about that contract too. Someone I never want. Ed to cross paths with. Victoria Hale. President of the Redwood Ridge HOA. And the worst nightmare of every resident here. I've known the name Victoria Hale for a long time. In Redwood Ridge. If you ask who holds the real power. It's not the sheriff. It's not the mayor. It's Victoria. That woman. Always polished. Always proper. Head of the Redwood Ridge HOA. But behind the polished blazer and the community first smile lurks a quiet fear that the whole town whispers about. Don't let the designer clothes or that perfectly styled platinum hair fool you. Victoria Hale isn't your typical neighborhood busybody. She's a queenpin. A real power broker. Controlling every blade of grass. Every square foot of land in this community. And the fate of anyone bold enough to stand against her. The stories about Victoria have become me local legend. A haunting one. Families who dared push back against ridiculous HOA rules. No flags on the porch. No gardens in the front yard. Suddenly found themselves buried in violations. Grass an inch too tall. Paint color a shade off. Parking your truck 2 inches out of line. And like clockwork. The pressure built. They were forced to sell. Usually for pennies on the dollar. And who bought those propert? IES. The shadow companies. Real estate shells. All conveniently tied back to Victoria Hale. She turned the HOA into her personal money machine. And anyone who resisted either vanished or got steamrolled. FORA while I thought my family's farm was safe. We're tucked away on the hillside. Away from the main residential area. I kept my head down. Focused on crops. Honored my promise to Emily. I never gave Victor a second thought. That is. Until the Organic Valley contract landed on my doorstep. Suddenly. I was a problem. I'll never forget that afternoon. I was surveying the land. Planning the expansion for the farm. When Victoria's sleek black SUV crept up the dirt road to my house. The window rolled down. Her lipstick red smile cold as ice beneath the facade. Congratulations, Mr. Carter. I hear your farm is about to grow. But you should know. In Redwood Ridge. Profiting off land isn't so simple. Not without the blessing of people like us. She didn't have to spell it out. In her eyes. I was an outsider. A man daring to succeed without kneeling at her gate. I stared her down. My voice sharp. No pleasantries needed. This farm. This land. Has been in my family for 3 generations. I don't need your permission to plant crops on my ancestors' soil. Her smile faded. Eyes sharp as knives. She glanced toward my porch. Toward Emily's basil still thriving by the door. Careful, Mr. Carter. In Redwood Ridge. Paperwork doesn't always protect land. Sometimes. People like me rewrite the rules. Then she hit the gas. The SUV disappearing in a cloud of red dirt. I stood there. Heart pounding. Old sweat running down my back. I knew. The real fight had begun. Because once Victoria Hale targets you, she doesn't stop. Until you surrender. Or she crushes you. I clenched my fists. Reminded myself. For Eileen. For the Carter family. For the future of Redwood Ridge. I won't back down. But what I didn't know was how far Victoria was willing to go. And how ruthless her next moves would be. I knew trouble was coming. But I didn't expect it to hit this fast. And this dirty. Just 2 days after my run-in with Victoria Hale. Everything started spiraling out of control. That morning. I took fresh produce to the farmer's market downtown. The stares hit me instantly. Vendors whispering. Shoppers avoiding my stand like I carried the plague. Before I could even process it. Marcus. My buddy from the bread stall next door. Vet a crumpled flyer into my hand. Community alert. Carter Farm under suspicion for using harmful chemicals. Potential health risk to Redwood Ridge residents. I froze. A photo of my garden plastered on the page. Bright red letters screaming. Unsafe produce. Protect your family. Stay away. The style was familiar. Lies. Exaggeration. Preying on fear. Victoria's favorite playbook. The same tactics she used to drive families out of Pine Creek last year. I crumpled the flyer. But it didn't end there. That evening. Anonymous posts flooded every community Facebook group in Redwood Ridge. Ethan Carter under investiga. Tie-in for tax fraud. Illegal operations. Hiding production of contaminated food. Hundreds of comments followed. Some outraged. Some defending me. But I knew. The seed of doubt was already planted. It got worse. The next day. An email from the California Agriculture Inspection Office. Per complaints filed by the Redwood Ridge HOA. Your farm will undergo an unscheduled inspection within 48 hours. My palms went cold. I clenched my fists. Victoria had made her move. I'd seen this before. Step 1. False accusations. Step 2. Official inspections. Then they pile on regulations so absurd. You either drown in fines. Or give up entirely. All legal on paper. But in reality. It's psychological warfare. The next few days were unbearable. Everywhere I went. Judging eyes followed. My mailbox filled with anonymous letters drip. Ping with venom. Give it up. Carter. Redwood Ridge isn't for people like you. Leave now. Or watch your farm turn to ash. The breaking point came on day 5. I found my farm sign. Carter Farm. 100% organic. Spray painted eye. N bright red. Liar. Community destroyer. I stood there. Watching everything Emily and I built. Covered in filth. And I thought of her. Of our dream for a clean. Free Redwood Ridge. Untouched by the corruption of those hiding behind the phrase community first. I knew Victoria wasn't just after my reputation. She wanted me broken. To quit. To walk away under pressure. But she underestimated one thing. I'm a Carter. This land is my legacy. My blood. And someone like me doesn't fold over cheap flyers and rumors. I clenched my fists. Told myself. If they play dirty. I'll GHT back with the truth. But I never expected. Victoria's next move. Would be far more dangerous. And ruthless than I ever imagined. I knew Victoria Hale wouldn't stop with a few online smear campaigns. But. I never expected her to get this dirty. This fast. That day. The heat in Redwood Ridge was unbearable. The temperature pushing 104 degrees. The whole town dry as a bone. Water restrictions. In place. Everyone struggling to survive the worst drought in years. And me. I was out in the fields. Watering every row. Tending every tomato plant. Because just a few days without water. And all the work. The sweat. All the promises I made to Emily. Would turn to dust. That's when disaster hit. Around noon. The irrigation system cut out. Pumps dead. Warning lights flashing across the control panel. I rushed to check the power. The entire farm. Dark. I called the electric company. The answer felt like a slap to the face. We received an official request to disconnect power from the Redwood Ridge HOA Community S. Affity Board. Reason: suspected electrical hazards on your farm during wildfire season. I froze. My farm, up to code, fully inspected. But Victoria had pulled the strings. All under the convenient banner of community safety. And it got worse. Less than an hour later, the water shut off. No notice. No warning. I ran to the tanks. Checked the lines. Every water meter sealed. Bright red tape across them. Water service suspended. Pending environmental compliance investigation. Issued by Redwood Ridge HOA. I slammed my fist against the notice. Heart racing. In a drought. No power. No water. That's a death sentence for the entire farm. For my livelihood. For everything Emily and I built. Before the anger could even settle, I heard the footsteps. The voice. Familiar. Mocking. Victoria Hale. Dressed in pristine white. Sipping iced tea. Strolling toward my gate. With Mike. Her loyal bulldog of an enforcer. Her eyes. Cold. But amused. I warned you, Ethan. Those who refuse to play by the rules get removed. Mike smirked. Loving every second. I clenched my fists. Forced myself to stay calm. I knew this game. Classic Victoria. Corner me. Break me. Make me so desperate I'd walk away from my land in disgrace. Your farm is unsafe. She said it flat. Like a judge handing down a sentence. You have 48 hours to fix this. Or the HOA will enforce compliance the law. I stared her down. Silent. One wrong word. One reckless move. And I'd be playing right into her trap. But inside, I made a promise. I would not let them destroy Emily's dream. I would not let them erase 3 generations of Carter blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Victoria thought she had won. But what she didn't understand. The more you corner me, the harder I'll fight. I turned. Headed back inside. To the stacks of paperwork. The evidence I'd been collecting for weeks. Victoria's little game was just getting started. And so was I. I thought I was alone. 4 days. Victoria Hale's shadow lingered over me. And he neighbors of Redwood Ridge slowly turned their backs. People avoided me like I was cursed. And maybe I was. Carter Farm looked like a graveyard. Wilted vegetables. Dried up vines. The tomato rose. Emily's pride. Withering away under the brutal sun. No water. No hope. I knew. Victoria was waiting. Watching for the moment I'd finally break. But just when I was ready to lose faith, she showed up. The one name that pulled me back from the edge. Sophie Bennett. She found me one cloudy afternoon. I was struggling to patch together the electrical system with temporary power. At first, I barely recognized her. Wild red IR. Worn out backpack. Eyes sharp. The kind of sharp that only comes from losing too much. Ethan Carter. I looked up. Guard up immediately. Who are you? She flashed a press badge. Civic Watch. An independent investigative outlet. Reporter. She said flat. But her eyes burned with quiet defiance. I've been tracking Victoria Hale for 2 years. I stayed silent. Suspicious. Sophie noticed. Without hesitation. She pulled out a thick folder from her bag. Documents. Photos. Records. Even audio recordings of internal HOA meetings. Victoria's not just targeting you. Sophie flipped through the pages. She built her empire on fear and manipulation. Property seizures. Land price rigging. Intimidation campaigns. I turned the pages. Heart pounding. Why are you helping me? Sophie's face darkened. I had a home. A family. Until another HOA. Just. Tea like Victoria's. Destroyed everything. I lost it all. And I promised. I'd expose them for what they are. Her eyes burned with pain. But also with purpose. I studied her. Trusting strangers wasn't my thing. These files. The names. The evidence. They filled in the gaps. The missing pieces. Turns out. I wasn't alone after all. Sophie brought more than proof. She brought a way out. A way to fight back. You think Victoria's power stops at Redwood Ridge. Sophie's voice dripped with bitterness. She's connected to corporations. Politicians. Real estate sharks all the way up in Denver. I gripped the folder. My blood boiled. What's your plan? Sophie smiled. Not soft. But sharp. Like someone who's been through hell and learned to cut back. I've got the evidence. I know the law. I know how to use the media. I can show the world. The real Victoria Hale. But I need witnesses. People inside this mess. People like you. I smirked. I've seen enough. It's time to fight back. Sophie nodded. Hand extended. Then let's work together. Ethan Carter. It's time to bring down the HOA queen. I took her hand. Gripped it tight. The game had changed. I wasn't alone anymore. And Victoria Hale. She'd never see it coming. That the very people she tried to crush would become the seeds of her downfall. I always knew Victoria Hale played dirty. But I never thought she'd drag the police into this. Just to crush a farmer holding on to his land. It started early that morning. Sophie Bennett had everything ready. A full investigative report. Proof of Victoria's price fixing. Embezzling HOA funds. And her shady connections to real estate developers. We were waiting for the right moment to go public. But somehow, Victoria caught wind of the threat. And she struck first. Around 10 a.m. I was in the field. Trying to salvage what was left of the tomato rows. When the familiar black SUV rolled to a stop at my front gate. Victoria stepped out. Calm as ever. But her eyes. Sharp as a blade. Ethan Carter. She said. Smooth as if she were auctioning off beachfront property. Cons. I'd her this friendly advice. This land will end up in the hands of someone who deserves it. I smirked. Deserve it? You mean through fraud and intimidation? Your time's almost up. Victoria. She didn't flinch. Just turned to leave. But not before tossing a threat into the wind. Careful. Carter. The police have their eyes on dangerous individuals. I barely had time to process those words. 30 minutes later. The nightmare hit. Sirens screamed through Redwood Ridge. Shattering the fragile calm. 4 patrol cars stormed down the dirt road to my farm. Kicking up clouds of dust. Doors flew open. Officers piled out. Hands resting on their holstered weapons. Eyes locked on me. Sophie ran from the house. Pale as a ghost. Ethan. They've got a search warrant. I froze. Search warrant? For what? I've done nothing wrong. But facts didn't matter today. Trey Holloway. A middle-aged cop. Marched up. Holding out a warrant. We received credible reports. Allegations of weapons and illegal substances store. On this property. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Weapons? Drugs? It was a setup. And I knew exactly who orchestrated it. Victoria. She knew I wouldn't back down. And this was her endgame. Turn me into a criminal. In the eyes of the entire town. I scanned the crowd. Nabe. Oars gathered along the road. Whispers. Judging eyes. Phones out. Recording me like I was already convicted. Sophie stepped beside me. Voice low. Don't react. The cameras around the house are rolling. If this SA setup. We'll have proof. I nodded. Swallowed the rage. Stayed silent. The cops tore the place apart. They flipped the tool shed. Searched every corner of the garden. Dug around the well. I stood there. Here. Tea pounding. But kept my mouth shut. And just like a script. They found it. Hidden behind the back fence. A plastic bag with some unknown substance. And a rusted handgun. Trey held it up. Expression stone cold. We've confirmed the suspicion. You're under arrest for further investigation. I clenched my fists. Veins pulsing under my skin. That's not mine. Someone planted that. Trey smirked. Tell it to your lawyer. Cold metal cuffs locked around my wrists. Sophie raised her phone. Eyes blazing. Don't worry. We've got it all on camera. They won't silence the truth. As they escorted me to the squad car. I looked back. Victoria stood by her SUV. That smug smile plastered across her face. But I swore to myself. She hadn't won. Not even close. The dirtier the tricks, the brighter the truth will shine. They rushed me into the interrogation room so fast it made my head spin. For cold. Gray walls. A metal table. A camera rolling. Recording my every move. Every breath. I knew. The script was written long before I got here. By Victoria Hale herself. All I had to do was lose my cool. Slip up. They'd have exactly what they needed to pin her made-up charges on me. But I wasn't giving them that satisfaction. The door creaked open. Detective Trey Holloway walked in. Expression flat. Case file in hand. Ethan Carter. He started. I suggest you cooperate. The evidence found at the scene doesn't exactly work in your favor. I stared him down. Voice steady as steel. Evidence? You mean the crap Victoria stuffed behind my fence herself? Trey's eyes narrowed. Clearly not expecting me to know the setup this well. Before he could respond, his phone buzzed. He hesitated. Checked the screen. Answered. I only caught fragments. Urgent words from the other end of the line. But Trey's face shifted immediately. Less than 5 minutes later. The door swung open. Sophie Bennett stepped in. Alongside a higher-ranking officer. Lieutenant Harold Bates. Bates carried a laptop. His face serious. But his eyes full of determination. Ethan. You need to see this. He opened the laptop. The footage played. Surveillance camera angles from around my property. Crystal clear. There was Victoria Hale. Her little entourage. Sneaking over my fence. Planting the evidence right where the cops conveniently discovered it. Undeniable. I clenched my fists. Jaw tight. Finally. The truth, huh? A voice. Sophie leaned in. Her whisper sharp. It's not over yet. The whole town is watching this live. I froze for a second. The realization hit me. Sophie had streamed the footage. Directly into the Redwood Ridge community group. Over 5,000 residents. All watching. The reaction. Explosive. Comments flooding in. I can't believe this. She framed him. Victoria needs to be locked up. You can't manipulate Is community like that. We stand with Ethan. Protect Carter Farm. Lieutenant Bates turned to Trey. His voice like ice. This is out of the town's hands now. We're detaining Victoria Hale. On charges of evidence. Tampering. Obstruction of justice. Defamation. And community manipulation. I exhaled. Like waking up from a weeks-long nightmare. But the surprises weren't over. Sophie's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. Handed it to me. A message from the mayor of Redwood Ridge. Ethan. I saw the footage. Be ready. Tonight at the town hall. We're exposing everything. I looked at Sophie. Fire burning in both our eyes. It's time to tear her mask off. For all of Redwood Ridge to see. That night. The town hall was packed. Standing room only. Victoria Hale walked in. Designer dress. Fake smile. Still clinging to her illusion of control. But every screen in the building lit up. The footage played for all to see. Victoria. Sneaking. Planting evidence. Every movement. Magnified for the entire town to witness. Whispers turned into a roar. She framed an innocent man. Tampering with evidence. Lying. How can she show her face here? Victoria's expression crumbled. Pale. Shaking. Eyes darting for an exit. But it was too late. Lieutenant Bates took the stage. His words slicing through the uproar. Victoria Hale. You're under arrest. On charges of defamation. Obstruction. Community manipulation. HOA embezzlement. And illegal real estate collusion. The cuffs clicked. The crowd erupted in applause. I stood in the sea of people. And felt it. This wasn't just my victory. It was the community's. It was truth finally breaking through. But deep down, I knew this battle was far from over. I turned to Sophie. Eyes locked. Voice steady. This is just the beginning. 3 months later. Redwood Ridge felt like a different place. The threatening HOA enforcement signs. Gone. The fear-filled board meetings. The whispered manipulation. All gone. Victoria Hale. The queenpin behind those dark days. Sentenced to 8 years in prison. The charges. Evidence tampering. HOA embezzlement. Community intimidation. And collusion with real estate developers to exploit our town. I can't lie. Seeing her in that bright orange jumpsuit. Face pale. Her once perfectly styled blonde hair now dull and lifeless. Yeah. It was satisfying. Arrogance. Greed. Abuse of power. All finally paid for. Redwood Ridge started to heal. The mayor announced sweeping reforms. For the first time in years. Residents could vote. For true representatives. And the biggest surprise. Sophie Bennett. Nominated as interim president of the HOA. I still remember her face that day. A little nervous. But mostly determined. I'm not here to run this place like Victoria did. She told the crowd. I'm here to make sure the rules serve the people. Not someone's bank account. The room erupted in applause. As for me. Carter Farm didn't just survive. It thrived. The partnership with Organic Valley. Officially signed. Every day. Tons of fresh produce. From the land my ancestors built. Shipped across Oregon. And beyond. I stood among the lush green fields. The hours my mother once planted. The thriving crops. Our family's legacy. Finally safe. The day we opened the community garden. On the very land I set aside. For families who'd been bullied into selling by Victoria's regime. The turnout was overwhelming. Neighbors came together. Planting. Harvesting. Sharing every basket of vegetables and fruit. A symbol. We are no longer afraid. I saw hope return to their eyes. Ev. And Mason. The young officer Victoria once tried to frame. He showed up. In uniform. But smiling easier than before. He gripped my hand firmly. Ethan. Because of you. Redwood Ridge learned to fight back. I smell. Ed. Eyes drifting toward the mountains guarding this town. In the breeze. It felt like I could hear my mother's voice again. Never let the bad guys destroy what's good. I understood that better than anyone. Now. Truth. Patience. And unity. Those are the strongest weapons. They can buy lawyers. Spin their narratives. Spread fear. But they can never buy the honest strength of a united community. And in the end. That's what crushed Victoria's ambitions. I stood there, breathing the clean air of land generations fought to protect. And thought to myself, justice finally smiled on those who do right. And I knew this was just the beginning of a stronger, more united Redwood Ridge. Because no villain is bigger than the belief of good people standing together. I used to think the same thing. But then, just 3 weeks after Victoria Hale was locked away, I found a strange envelope waiting at the front gate of Carter Farm. Inside, a faded black and white photograph. Blurry edges. But I recognized it immediately. It was my FOMO. Wise land. The Carter property. Taken sometime in the 1960s. And scribbled beneath the photo. One chilling line. Redwood Ridge's history was never as clean as you think. Signed, a friend from the shadows. From that moment on, I knew this fight was far from over. So don't forget to follow the channel. Turn on notifications. Because trust me, the truth, it's never just on the surface. See you soon. And believe me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.